Brilliant. Okay. So, all right. This is definitely a very, very strange time for a lot of people. It's a strange time for me. I'm used to being, living life at 100 miles an hour and running hundreds of miles everywhere. And I can't at the moment, but you know what? It could be a lot worse. I suppose like a lot of people, when all this stuff started happening, is the bad word now is the coronavirus or COVID-19. I suppose I had to reassess things myself. I had to figure out, okay, how do I stay motivated? How do I keep setting goals and stuff like that? Because to be honest, that's what the last 8 years of my life have been kind of built on. So we're going to have some time for some Q&A at the end, guys. I'm going to go through a load of stuff here. And basically what I want you guys to do at the end of this workshop and webinar is I want you not to, say, oh, this is how I have to do it. I want to leave you with questions, basically. I want you thinking, how can I do this? How can I do that? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so just to question things a little bit, I suppose one thing is motivation is very short term, and you can get motivated by listening to a song, reading a book, watching a video, stuff like that. But, how do we keep that momentum going kind of long term? I think that's quite important to discuss and to look at as well. Okay. Okay. Motivation is a short-term thing. It comes and goes. Some days you have it, some days you don't. All right. We all wish we could have it all the time, but reality, as we know, is quite the opposite. So, in fact, the direct, I suppose, definition of motivation is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. So that's very broad. Okay. Escape can be a strong motivation for travel, etc., etc. It gives a few other examples and nouns and whatnot, but I just wanted to keep it really simple. Okay, so it's a word that's thrown around quite a lot. I will be the first to say, I know it's in the headline of the presentation and the seminar and the online seminar and stuff. Not my most favorite word in the world, I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to tell you guys why that is, but also why I still think that it's quite an important thing. So again, motivation could be kind of a catalyst for a couple of different things. It can be a catalyst to get you moving from a health perspective. And this isn't a health and fitness, I suppose, seminar really. It's just, I suppose it covers a broad range of topics. So again, it can be the catalyst to get you going. However, you're going to need more than motivation to continue on your journey to whatever that might be. It could be business related. It could be anything. It could be better health, better fitness, etc., etc., more money, who knows. Okay. Motivation will get you started, but it won't keep you going. So that's one of the things I just want to, I suppose, throw in there first. Maybe not what you guys are expecting, but I do think that, yeah, look for motivation in certain things. Look for motivation in certain people, but don't rely on it. You need to take that, put it into a little bottle, and figure out yourself how you can make it grow. Okay. I always clicked there we go. Okay, so again, what motivates you? Different things for different people. Okay, what motivates me might not motivate somebody else. What motivates me, a lot of people think that it's the worst thing in the world, and that's okay as well. But it doesn't matter. What motivates you, and that's really, really important. And there's 3 words on that little card that man is holding, and the last word is the most important, and it's you. I'm actually going to get you guys to try and just be a little bit selfish by the end of this kind of presentation. I see a lot of people that lack motivation, and the last person that they have confidence in is themselves. And don't get me wrong, I am quite a self-confident person, but I'm self-confident in my own little things. I completely understand that if I was to come on here and give a talk on maths or something like that, I'd be not very confident. Do you know what I mean? So in my own little world, I'm very confident what I do. Now, did that happen over a space of 10 days? No, because next week is one I've been training for 10 years next week. So it took me time to build up to where I'm at. Okay. So you need to figure out, okay, what motivates me. Now, again, you'll see I'm going to be asking you guys a lot of questions here. Usually it's you guys asking me. I'm going to be asking you guys a lot of questions now as well, okay? So how do we get that motivation to stick around? What actually provokes us to get motivated in the first place? Like, what is the kind of catalyst to, you get that certain urge of motivation for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours or a couple of days sometimes. What causes it to go away and to leave? Personally, I think focusing on motivation alone is actually, in fact, a complete waste of time. Okay, so you can put on a song, you can put on a movie, you can get really motivated, but you know, next thing your thought process gets changed and you forgot that you were motivated 10 minutes ago. But what we can look at doing is we can't look at, okay, what are the certain things that might actually help us get motivated? I'm motivated by a lot of things on this list, and that's why I added this little infographic in. You know, I suppose, look, my attitude towards certain things, obviously with a lot of the endurance based stuff and the background I have, has given me a lot of motivation. My goals, I'm going anti-clockwise here, my goals, you know, obviously in the short term, but in the long term as well. And we're going to be talking about goals towards the end of the presentation too. My ideas, anybody that knows me, I get a lot of ideas. Some of them motivate me, some of them scare me, some of them do both at the same time. But you should always be thinking big, always dream, always think that you can do things that you thought you once couldn't do. The next one below is support. I'm going to talk to you guys about that as well towards the end. And then, like, you know, I suppose a couple of things I've picked out over the last 10 years or so, maybe 8 years, is your support and the people around you. People often think that, you know, I need to have a load of people around me, all this kind of stuff. I actually recommend the opposite. I recommend the smaller you keep your circle, the better. And those, you know, who you surround yourself with is just as important as anything else. And we're going to touch on that as well soon. From a performance standpoint, and I know little doodle man there is holding a pen, but performance means different things for different people. You know, like, what does performance mean to you? Performance might be performing at work. It might be performing at home for your family. You know, it might be performing out in a marathon for me. It could be a number of different things for different people. So again, just to reinstate the point, what I'm trying to get people to do here is just to get you guys to think for yourselves. I'm not going to try and, you know, shove any kind of theory down your throat or anything here. I just want to provoke some thought and get you guys thinking for yourself, you know. And then the next one up the top for me, I personally think if I was to list them all, this would be the thing that comes last, okay? Because I think the connection between motivation and success is actually quite a long road. In fact, it's a very, very long road. And in order to be successful, you know, it takes a couple of different things, and success means different things for different people. A lot of times we attribute success with money, fame, things like that. Well, in fact, you know, that's not what success looks like for a lot of people. Success might look like doing your first marathon, losing 10 pounds. It could be starting your own business. It could be turning over a certain amount of money each month. It could be doing something for somebody. It could be anything. And success means different things for different people. You know, people would look at the kind of stuff that I do and say that, you know, oh, getting to the Brooklyn Bridge on the last day crossing America was a huge success. Well, I'd actually disagree. I think getting to the start line was my biggest success, because everything I did in the preparation kind of was a build up and a stepping stone towards actually making the whole event successful. So when you look back, it wasn't the finish that was the big success and where you saw everybody. The success for me internally in my own head was the months and months and months of training in the wind and the rain around Sleigh Head and running up and down Inch Beach at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning when there was nobody else there. They're the days I remember as being successful. And they're the days that, you know, that will stand to you long term. And they're quite often the days too where you would lack what we call motivation. So just to get you guys thinking, you know, I think just to broaden your mind a little bit on some of these things, this has been recorded too, I believe. So, you know, you can access that afterwards and always kind of come back to this as well. Okay, so motivation comes and goes, it spikes and it drops. We all know that, okay? But what keeps it moving forward on a daily basis? That should be it, not is. But what keeps it moving forward on a daily basis? Discipline, okay? You need to be able to teach yourself discipline. And I'm not saying discipline as in military discipline or army discipline or 1920s Irish Royal Ireland discipline. I'm talking about discipline within your 2 ears. And that takes a lot of work. It takes time. It takes a lot of mistakes, a lot of fails, but ultimately, you know, the definition of discipline that I kind of came up with is the quality of being able to behave and work in a controlled way, which involves obeying particular rules or standards. For me, it's standards. I don't really follow many rules. I have rules when it comes, you know, to certain things with regards to training and all that kind of stuff, but standards is a big one for me. So I expect myself to perform and do certain tasks and carry myself in a certain way to these standards. And I think consistently showing up and doing that is how I've kind of taught myself discipline. Discipline is is one that I think a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people struggle with, you know, suppose we always have that honeymoon period when we get a new goal or a new something pops up or something new comes along and it's very exciting, but 2 or 3 weeks passes or 2 or 3 days pass and, you know, you're not really feeling it anymore. And, you know, that's where, you know, if you had some kind of, I guess, internal discipline, I'm not saying everybody has to go in and discipline themselves. And what I'm saying is that you can definitely teach yourself discipline. And it takes time. It takes showing up every day. It takes doing the small things right. And it just takes a bit of time. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in now, a lot of people really struggle with discipline. You know, the fact that we can have everything so quickly now, with regards to internet, shopping online, you've got people in my industry selling 7-day weight loss products, all this kind of stuff. Everything's quick and you actually don't really need discipline as a character trait much anymore in today's world. So look, again, I'm not saying you have to be some kind of a crazy person, but I do think that looking at discipline and trying to teach yourself some discipline is definitely a really good quality to work on. Now, look, I know it says obeying particular rules. That might be if you're following a strict training program or something like that. But I think the most important one here, again, is that last word, standards, is maintaining yourself and maintaining your own ways with certain standards every day, not just kind of Monday to Friday and then like Saturday and Sunday you lose the run of yourself. It's a 7-day week. It's every week of the month and every month of the year. You know, that's where discipline comes from, and it's a hard thing to for people to wrap their head around, and it's a hard thing as well for people to build. But when you can build it, I think it's really, really important. Okay. Okay, guys, so what we're going to look at next, right, is we're going to go into, you know, okay, what is an achievement? What does it look like? So no matter what your achievements are, they could be, again, it could be getting to the finish line of a marathon. It could be starting your own business. It could be anything. Everybody's achievements are a little bit different. But what I would look at is how you can turn your discipline into an achievement. Okay. So again, I'm not saying everybody's achievements are the same. An achievement for other people would be very, very different. Okay. So staying disciplined in what you're trying to achieve will lead to you being successful. And like I said at the start, success means very different things for very different people. Okay, next point. Discipline is controlling your own behaviors and actions without being told what to do or when to do it. I think that's crucial. Okay, so it's controlling your own behaviors and actions without being told what to do or when to do it. Take my line of work, for example. You come to a fitness class and for 45 minutes you have somebody like me telling you what to do. That's great. You probably get through it. Now, what happens in the other 167 hours of the week that you're not at that 1 hour training session, because there's 168 hours in a week? Controlling your own behaviors and actions in those 167 hours is absolutely crucial as well. I get asked all the time from my running background and running stuff, you know, what should I eat the day before? What should I eat the day before a marathon? And, you know, my question is, well, what do you eat the other 364 days a year? You know, so that's really important as well to consider. Not just what you're doing the day before or on a certain day, but what you're doing for many, many days back to back to back. Okay. Now, this is another one as well that I want people to look at. Okay. Discipline is remembering what you want long after the motivation has passed. Okay. So we've kind of transitioned from the motivation stuff into a little bit more of the discipline stuff. Okay. Now, again, you know, the motivation comes and goes. If you're working towards something long-term, that will go. There'll be certain days you don't want to keep doing what you're doing. But discipline is remembering what you want long after motivation has passed. That's different things for different people again, but I suppose it's still worth chatting about, talking, I suppose getting you guys to look at. What I want, last point I was coming up with there during the week was discipline is what will get you closer to goals and targets this month and this year. Notice that there's no days in there. I always try challenge people to look at things long term. I think that's really, really important. Again, we live in a very kind of an instant gratification world where, you know, we can go online, we can get a laugh, we can get gratification from posting a photo and stuff like that. But in order to kind of, I suppose, hit things down the line, it's really hard to play the long game. You know, I think if I went online in an hour's time and I came up with something, I said, hey, listen, you know, I can get you in the best shape of your life in 20 days. And I put a price on it, I'd probably be a millionaire by the end of the month. But in reality, that's not really what works. What works is if you commit to doing good solid work, training really hard, eating well for 12 months, maybe 18 months, then you'll get in the best shape of your life. But trying to sell that to somebody is very, very, very hard. And again, that D word, discipline, that's what really sticks, and that's what really works. Okay. Okay, I love this quote and I wanted to put it in, and again, it's from unknown because I don't know who said it. So people often overestimate what they can get done in 2 or 3 months, and they underestimate what they can get done in 12 to 18 months. I would have been one of the early people to maybe overestimate what I could do in a short space of time and underestimate what I can do in a long space of time. Again, I just, anything what people are doing, whether it be business, whether it be training, no matter what it is, trying to get people to look long term, I think is really, really, really important. And like, again, you know, I think people often overestimate what they can get done in a short space of time, and they underestimate themselves what they can get done in a long space of time. I think that's really really important. I think it's really worth considering, and just something I think would be quite nice to put in there as well. Okay, just check how we're doing for time. We're doing great. Okay, now I suppose next thing I want people to just start thinking about is okay. So we all have goals, we all have things we want to do, we all have things we want to achieve, we all have you know, I think I use the travel thing here as a good example, you know, is clarity. How like, what exactly do you want to do? I talk to people on a weekly basis that say, I'd love to do this sometime. And it's such a vague answer. Yeah, look, being vague sometimes is great. It's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm vague sometimes with my answers too, but in what you want to, you know, achieve, and if you've got goals and stuff like that, being crystal clear and having absolute direct clarity on what you want to do. And then you work back and say, okay, how am I going to do it? Okay. And I have a couple of little things I want to share with you guys on this. Just a couple of, you know, past experiences and stuff that I think might be helpful for you guys too, and applicable to whatever we're trying to achieve. Okay, so a big factor in being disciplined or not disciplined is clarity. Okay, what is clarity? Okay, what are you trying to do? What exactly are you trying to do? You should be able to tell me in 2 or 3 sentences. It shouldn't take you 10 or 20 minutes to try and tell me what you're trying to do. It should be bang, bang, bang. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Here's the things I might struggle with, but this is how I'm going to overcome them. Bang, 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 done. Okay, very, very clear pathway. Instead of sometime, I'd like to do sometime, maybe I thought about it, I don't know, and in that time, what you want to do, somebody else has already gone and done it. Okay, so it's really, really important, no matter what you're trying to do, no matter what kind of a goal it is across many, many different sectors, is you got to get crystal clear exactly what you're trying to achieve. What are you trying to do? And you should be able to tell me in 2 or 3 sentences. Okay. Soon we're going to move on to some goal setting, but gaining clarity about what you hope to achieve first is absolutely vital. Okay. I mean, how can you set goals if you don't know what you're trying to achieve? I think that's really important. Okay. So again, from my perspective, in my area of work, someone comes to me and says, Shane, I'd love to do my first half marathon. Boom, perfect. They want to run their first half marathon. Now we're going to work back and see, how do we get them there? Okay. That's exactly what you want to do. There's a big difference to somebody coming to me and saying, what's the story with this running stuff? Like, you might do one someday, you know, and then, no, I couldn't do it. They put themselves down, and next thing it's gone again for another couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of days. Okay. So you want to do something, get clarity, get crystal clear on why you want to do it, and then work backwards and build your plan towards that. Okay. It shouldn't be vague. It should not be vague. Okay. So we're Irish people in general are really good at being vague. Okay. We're actually experts at being vague, kind of wish, you know, not really kind of getting into too much detail in case, you know, someone's trying to outsmart you or something like that. You know, it's a very Irish thing. So we're great at being vague. Okay. So you want to become the exact opposite of that. You should know exactly what you want. Then you put your plans in place and exactly how you'll achieve it. Okay. And I want to use my own kind of New York City clarity example for this. As Maggie said, coming in again to the webinar or seminar, my most recent, I suppose, adventure was I biked and ran across the continent of America in 36 days from San Francisco to New York. So we raised nearly 100 grand for charity again. And you know, America is a big place. It's a lot bigger than Ireland. And but I flew to New York about 7 months before I started. And I ran the last 21 kilometers of the last day on my own. Now I had to go to New York for something anyway, but part of that trip was to go and run that last 21K completely alone with nobody else, just so I could get absolute and utter clear clarity on exactly what that last day would look like. Now, there was 35 days before that where I had no clue what anything looked like. And we were in the middle of nowhere for days and weeks, but I knew exactly in my mind where I needed to get to and how it was going to look, how it was going to move, what the streets looked like, how many pedestrian crossings I had to cross. I even counted how many traffic lights and little pedestrian crossings there were from the top all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridge. So I was that clear in my own mind. I didn't share that with anybody. I didn't feel the need to share it, but I knew it for myself, and that was what was most important. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. No, you don't have to go that weird. You don't have to go that full into it, but it's really good to have an idea of where you want to go and knowing exactly what that looks like. Again, that could be in many, many different forms for many, many different people. It doesn't have to be running related. It can work into many different areas of life. Okay. I already touched on this a little bit. We live in a very, very distracted world. Okay. Everything there's silver spoons flying everywhere. There's a thing like the golden handcuffs, you know, wherever there's, you know, all this kind of stuff. And people are often just distracted by shiny objects. Okay. We live in a very, very distracted world. I often ask people what their goals are. They can kind of half tell me, or else their answer is very vague and their answer is lack of plan. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to stand here and shout from the rooftop saying I have the perfect plan for everything. My answers are never vague, you know, but when I do set my mind to something, I've put some things in place that really, really help. And getting clarity on what you're trying to do, then stepping back and say, okay, how am I going to do this? And then getting to work on how you're going to do it is a really, really good way of doing it. People simply hope for things, and don't get me wrong, hope is really, really important. I've relied on hope quite a lot over the last number of years, but clarity followed by goals set in stone that are then followed by action is what will get you results. This crosses over to business, life, weight loss, fat loss, fitness, running, everything. Exactly what you want to do, where you want to go, how are you going to do it, and then get to work. That's how you achieve something in many different forms. Try and avoid getting caught with the shiny object syndrome. I kind of made that up in brackets just as a disclaimer. If you Google it, I don't know if it's an actual syndrome, but basically what that means is, like I said at the top point, we live in a very distracted world. We're focused in on something, and then, you know, something passes our eyes and we're like, we get caught. Okay. I often laugh at my dog when I'm bringing him for a walk. You know, we're out, we're having a walk, we're having a run around the place, and next thing, a bird flies by or a rabbit runs across the top of the field and he's just gone. He's no longer present. He's gone. He forgot that I was there and he's gone chasing something else. Next thing, that thing vanishes and he's kind of looking around for me again, you know. So I often think of him when this thing pops up. So I would have been very much so a culprit to this over the last couple of years as well. I've been down a lot of rabbit holes too, don't get me wrong. But just try and avoid, you know, different things getting in the way, I guess. And like I remember one time an old gentleman telling me, you know, if you chase two rabbits, you won't catch any of them, you know. So no matter what your goal is, go all in on that and focus on that, work on that, achieve it, move on, do something else, rather than trying to achieve 6 or 7 things at the same time and none of them actually getting done or none of them actually getting executed on. And as well, you know, when you come from a kind of a let's go motivation, that's one sure way of lacking motivation, is never actually making any progress with your goals. And the problem is people don't make progress with their goals because they don't put an action plan in place, or they have no clarity about what they're actually trying to do. So it's very hard to get motivated about something when you don't know what you're trying to do, you know. So you should set a plan, set a goal, go for it, block whatever, all the shiny objects from the outside, block them out, and one direction, one gear, one plan, and get it done. Long-term change happens when you're consistently good and not occasionally perfect. This is kind of my next point I wanted to touch on, guys, really quickly. Doing for time, we're doing great. So long-term change happens when you're consistently good and not occasionally perfect. People are absolutely obsessed with doing everything perfectly. That's not reality, okay? So nobody's perfect. Nobody can do every single thing perfectly. You know, if I was trying to do every single thing perfectly over the last 10 years, I've got nothing done. You know, when you're consistently good and you're consistently trying to do good things and consistently trying to move forward every day of the week, that's when you'll start progressing. Not if you're just perfect on Monday and Tuesday and then Wednesday to Sunday is a complete another train wreck. That's when you don't get any progress. Let's look at it from a fitness standpoint. When you're consistently good over time with your training and your nutrition, that's when you start to see long-term results. If you're only good on Monday and Tuesday and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are not so good, you can kind of put two and two together and see, okay, I need to be consistently good. You know, like I said, one hot day doesn't make a hot summer, but a couple of hot days together in a week and a couple of weeks together, then, oh, that was a great summer. Do you know what I mean? So you need to think about, how can I be consistently good every day rather than trying and obsessing about being perfect all the time. I'm going to move into the next thing here. And it's very similar. Let's look back at our podcast workshop. A lot of people will be just so obsessed with trying to do it perfectly that they'll never actually get it launched. They won't put it out there. You know, I had this conversation with my own cousin 3 weeks ago, who months ago asked me about, you know, kind of how would I set up a podcast? And I showed him, and he was so obsessed about trying to get it done perfectly, still hasn't put it out there because he's afraid it's not good. So, you know, it's important to be consistently good instead of trying to be always perfect. So people get so caught up and trying to be perfect and making each step perfect that they never get anywhere. You know, there's a quote, I'm not too sure how it goes. It goes, you know, fail and fail often. And you learn from when you make little fails and you trip the odd time. That's actually quite good, because you might get a little graze in your knee or you might cut your elbow, but you recover and you patch up and your skin gets a little bit stronger the next time. So you learn from these little things, these little mistakes you make. You know, paralysis by analysis is a real thing. And happens to everybody. This is where we overthink and overanalyze the situation. The action never actually gets taken. So let's take putting yourself out there for a goal or something like that. We worry so much about, oh, what will this person think? Oh, what will that person think? Oh, what will the people I went to school with think? And then we just get so paralyzed by the analysis and our own analysis in our head that we never get it done. And we're afraid to get it done. We're afraid to put ourselves out there. We're afraid to put our ideas out there. And it's a hard thing. A lot of people would suffer with it. I suffered with it myself in the past. Do you know what I mean? But now I just don't give a you know what about anything really, unless it's got something to do with me, my family, my clients, and the charity work. Outside of that, nothing else really matters. And many other people's opinions don't matter either. You know, so what matters is where you're trying to go, how you're trying to do it, who you're trying to help, and who are those around you. And that's what kind of brings me on nicely to our next point. Okay, I found this little photo for paralysis by analysis, and it made me laugh. Right, it says, get all the information you can and we'll find a use for it later on, or we'll think of a use for it later on. And I see so many people get caught up with that. And again, the reason it made me laugh is because that was me previously. Okay, so just, you know, instead of, you know, worrying about making everything perfect or trying to have the perfect this or the perfect that or the perfect plan, sometimes the best plan is no plan, and just start moving forward. Just start making mistakes, start learning, start figuring things out, start trying things. Okay, this doesn't work, let's try something else. And just not to give up no matter what it is you're trying to do. I think that's really important. Okay, we're doing well for time. Write down what it is you want, make a plan, work on it every single day. That is one of the closing shots that I use in one of my kind of online seminars that I gave to people. I gave people a lot of weekends online. You know, whether it is, I want to run my first marathon, I want to do my first triathlon, I want to learn how to swim and stuff like that. I could have done 3 or 4 slides on this, but you know what? I actually took a few out because I was like, this one shows exactly what I'm trying to put across. Okay. The simple act of just writing down your goals is very, very powerful. You know, I would have fallen culprit in the past of, you know, just kind of letting them float around my head and being like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. And then like, I had an idea there before, but I can't remember what it was. You know, so I think one of the most powerful exercises that anybody can do is turn off all the noise, turn off all the music, turn off all the computers, turn off all the laptops, all TVs, sit down with a piece of pen and a paper and write down what you actually want to do with yourself, whether it be fitness related, business related. Get a piece of paper and a pen, not on the notes on your iPhone or your smartphone or your laptop, a biro and a piece of paper, and write it down. And when it comes out with that pen, I can guarantee you it'll be a lot more realistic to you. It could be anything. It could be, I want to make 10 grand this month, or I want to lose 10 pounds this month. Whatever it is, write it down. When you see it written down, it's a lot more powerful because it's written down. It's not just floating around your head. And then when it's written down, you can make a plan. The one thing I do see a lot of people getting wrong when they do this exercise is that I ask them to write down what they want to achieve, and they come back to me with like a thesis of points. I'm like, no, you're not going to be able to do all that together. You got to write down 1 or 2 things that are very, very important to you that you want to achieve, and it should be for you personally. Okay. Now you might say, what are you talking about, Shane? I said, yes, 100%. I do a lot of stuff for me. That in turn helps other people. That's the kind of angle I get to put on things, which is really, really cool. It's very, very unique for me. So I get to push myself to the absolute limit. And by doing so, I'm also helping other people. So, but when you look into it at a little bit of a deeper level, I'm still doing it for me as well at the same time. That's important. And as an Irish person, we're brutal at doing stuff for ourselves. We're the first person to put ourselves down. We're the first person to say that, oh, sure, I could never do that. We're the first person to say, if you give a, you know, that joke, that the TV ad about the girl wearing the dress and her friend asked her, oh, you look lovely in that. It's like, oh, shut up. No, I don't. You know, we're brilliant at putting ourselves down. So I had to kind of step out of that a little bit, and I'd say, hold on a second. I said, you know, if I don't believe in myself, like, what am I going to be able to do? You know, other people believe in me. Why don't I believe in myself? So the first person you got to be able to do, first thing you got to be able to do is you got to be able to write your stuff down. You got to believe in it. It's got to be real. If it's coming out from you, it's going to be real. You're going to make a plan. Okay. You're going to make a step-by-step plan of how I'm going to achieve this. You know, I always use the stairs analogy. So we all want to go up the top of the stairs, but you know, you can't take one big step and get up there. You got to go up step by step by step. And yeah, look, if it's a big spiral staircase going up the greatest, you know, skyscraper in New York, if you keep taking the steps, you'll eventually get there. And it's the same if it's a small stairs, if it's a small goal, take 8 or 9 steps and you're there. You know, now you might have to take 8 or 9,000 to get to the top of the skyscraper, but you will get there. But if you try to take 3 steps at a time or 5 steps at a time, you'll get burnt out and you'll miss some of the important little bits down along the line. And eventually you'll just kind of say, F this, I'm out, you know. So you got to work on it every single day. That's a big thing. Okay. A lot of people, you know, it's an interesting one. I could get into many different avenues and angles on this one. You need to work on what you're trying to do every single day, no matter what it is. You know, I'm not saying you have to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but you should be putting yourself in a position to achieve what you're trying to achieve on a daily basis. And I'm saying that because I know a lot of people here, it might not be health or fitness related, it could be work related, anything. It could be anything. I mean, I give very, very similar talks to running clubs than I would in a room up in Dublin with 500 corporate men and women. It's the same kind of a concept. Okay, no matter what you're trying to do, you have to work on it every single day. You have to be able to talk to yourself in a positive way and say, you know, I'm trying to take control of my health. I know it's a Sunday morning, I'd rather stay in bed till 10, but if I get up at 9 and get my run done, you know, it's gonna, and before the kids get up or whatever, you know, so you got to work on something every single day. That's really important. If you only work on it every so often, you'll get every so often results. I think that's worth adding in as well. Okay, I kind of like this. It's something I use again in a lot of my own presentations. Okay, where do we start with setting a goal? Okay, so like it could be different. Like I said, it's different things for different people. Okay, a lot of people will have heard of the kind of SMART approach. A lot of things I've done in the past have not been very smart, but I think it's still good to look at this kind of model, and I do like it as well. Okay, so S stands for being specific. Okay, so M is for measurable. Okay, what are you measuring against? Like, is it actually achievable? A stands for achievable. You know, R stands for realistic, and that's one I'm going to come back to in a second. And T stands for time or timely. I actually prefer time rather than timely, but I like timely too. R is a big one for me. You know, I suppose the only person that knows that is you. A lot of times other people believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And I think, you know, no matter what you're trying to do, yes, it has to be realistic, but it has to be borderline. You know, if it's too easy for you to achieve, you know, you'll skip a couple steps and there won't be any kind of substance or purpose to what you're trying to do. And again, just to reinstate the point, guys, I'm kind of coming at this from as broad an angle as I can. On the time part, I think time is crucial. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, they don't give themselves an end date or a time or something like that. You know, like, oh, I'd love to do this sometime. I was like, when is sometime? Like, when is it? Like, when are you going to actually do this? When are you going to have this? When is it going to be there? Do you know what I mean? Like, when? You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not too sure when I'm ready. I'm like, you'll never be ready. So it's really important to kind of set a time goal for yourself. Okay. And we're going to move on to some time goal stuff now. So what you're trying to do should be specific. Okay. Really, really specific. You should know exactly what you're trying to do. It should be measurable up against what you're doing or what you've done in the past. I think the measurable part is important because you should be measuring yourself every day. Okay. So am I acting accordingly to what I'm trying to achieve, where I'm trying to go? Like what I do every day. Okay, so I'm trying to achieve a big goal. It's up here, but down here, what you do every day is actually what gets you to that goal. So remember, that's like the steps on the stairs, and that's why I like this little photo as well, because it looks like the steps on the stairs as well. Is it achievable? Okay, so somebody might say, look, I want to make 10 billion euro next year. Unreal, like, fair play for aiming high, but like, can you, like, is that actually achievable? You should be uncomfortable doing the goal, and you should be uncomfortable kind of like putting yourself in the situation, but it's got to be achievable as well. Like, okay. And then we got to be realistic, and we got to set a time frame on it. Okay. So it could be, okay, I want to do this in 12 weeks. And don't say 12 weeks. I want to know what date is 12 weeks from today, because a lot of even my running and endurance clients, they would say, oh, look, I've got this, and boom, I'm like, they don't even know, but I'm making a note of that date, or in 10 weeks, I want to have this done. And I'm like, 10 weeks later, I'm like, well, how did you get on? Did you get it done? And they know now not to kind of either tell me what date they're doing it, or they just like, they just get it done anyway. So that's a nice little thing as well. It could be something you can kind of come back to too, guys. Okay. The 3, 6, 9, 12 method, I think that's a really important thing, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. This is a big one for me. Okay, so your goals should be very personal. Again, we're great at doing things for other people, and quite often we're the last to kind of look after ourselves. But you need to understand that the more you look after yourself and the more you push yourself, the more you can actually help other people. And that's a kind of a hard thing to wrap your head around. Sometimes people think that, oh, but sure, I have to help everybody else first. And yeah, you can still help people, but you can help people by helping yourself as well and pushing yourself. And we're great as well, guys, at, applauding other people, which, don't get me wrong, is fantastic. I applaud people all the time. It's really, really important, but don't forget to applaud for yourself as well. That's important. Okay. Another point I just wanted to put in there, and I was in between two minds whether or not to leave this in, but I said I would, because I think it's important to talk about too. I'd be very careful about who you share your goals with personally. Okay. As I've told you, I keep my small circle is very, 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 very small. I think as well, who you share your stuff with is equally as important, because they could be your biggest influence or they could be your biggest downfall. And unfortunately, guys, just to call a spade, and I'm not trying to be negative or controversial here, sometimes a lot of the things holding you back from achieving your goals are in fact the people around you. So you need to take a look and see, okay, am I aligning myself, or should I just stop telling these people what I'm trying to achieve? You got to weigh that option up. And it's a conversation I've had to have with myself quite a lot over the last, even more recent kind of 2 or 3 years. So the smaller my circle, the better. And I'm not saying you guys have to turn into hermits or whatever, but, I think it's just still good to sometimes keep your goals to yourself, achieve them, and you can clap for yourself too. People often overestimate, I'm putting this in again, what they can get done in 2 or 3 months, and underestimate what they can get done in 12 or 18 months. Okay. I think the above quote from earlier is really important to remember. Don't think in days or weeks. Think about what you can do in a few months or even a year. And it's a hard one again, guys, because, we live in the 21-day detox world, and the 21-day this and the 12-day that. And, I completely forget about all that stuff, to be completely honest. If you want long-term lasting change, you got to work long-term. You got to think long-term. You got to play the game long-term. And the game is goal setting and working on yourself. A lot of, I suppose, from my own background is like, people are like, how do you keep going all the time? Well, I've made a part of my life. I've made a part of my identity. I've made a part of who I am. So I'm never really on a 12-week running program. I'm on a 52-week program every year, because this is what I love, this is what I do. And then inside that, I've got goals for sure. And that brings me back up to the top point. Okay. And I think another very, very good exercise that a lot of people could do is the blank page. Write down what you want to achieve in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months, and the next 12 months. Okay. You know, the next 12 months should be your big one. Okay. So what can you achieve in 1 year from now? People often cram the things they want to do into the 3 months. Well, that might not be realistic. So you need to see where you can slot certain things in. Is the 12-month one more realistic for you? And then what I will also recommend is the things that you slot into the 3, the 6, and the 9 should be building you up and should be part of the package of the big goal that you're trying to achieve in 12 months time. So I'll reverse back for a second and give you an example of from my own stuff. Is 1 year out from trying to cross America, I knew in my heart and soul that there's a very, very high chance that I could fail doing this. And for me to wrap my head around that was quite difficult. But I said, if I can put steps in place, if I can get in the best shape of my life, and if I get to the start line, then I've got a shot. But if I think about getting to Brooklyn on the last day or doing this or doing that, before I even think of that, before I even worry about how I'm going to get there, I need to get to the start line. I need to give myself a chance to achieve this. Because if you don't give yourself a chance to achieve it, you never will. And then when I started, I can't think about the finish line that I was training towards and I was working towards for many, many months. Okay, so, you know, I suppose what you do in the months building into the big goal is also really, really important. And again, that's a hard thing for people to kind of buy into. Yeah, like I said, if I went online today or tonight and said, hey guys, listen, I got this 12-month program, it'll change your life, and it costs this amount of money, there'd just be like, you know, there'd be tumbleweeds rolling down the middle of my laptop. But if I said, you know, I can change your life in 12 days, it costs this crazy amount of money, and here's what we're going to do, I'd probably make a lot of money because people want stuff fast. But I can guarantee you guys, if you play the long game, do step by step, be very patient, be very disciplined, you'd be surprised at how far you can go. This is one thing I wanted to touch in on as well, and it's kind of coming towards the end as well. So, you know, negativity and self-doubt, they'll creep in at some point. I'm going to touch on negativity, I'm going to touch on self-doubt. Both I have quite a lot of experience with. There's a few things to consider here and to think of. One thing I wanted to put in number here was in the third point, as you guys will see, when you put yourself out there, when you aim high, when you set goals, it makes other people uncomfortable. Just let's call a spade, okay? That's where a lot of the negativity will come from, okay? So you stand up, you say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And what happens is other people will see that. Other people will see that this person is pushing themselves, they're trying to do something cool, they're trying to do something new, and that person realizes that they've done absolutely nothing with themselves for the last couple of weeks, months, years maybe. And in turn, their way of dealing with that will be by spreading negativity or saying, oh, sure, what are you doing that for? Or why would you bother doing that? Or sure, that's a waste of time. Have you got nothing else to be doing? These are a lot of kind of things that I would have experience with as well, you know? So look, you just have to put that stuff to the side. A lot of us would dwell on it. Don't get me wrong. I sometimes have to deal with it myself as well. But it's just something you have to block out, you know. I'll be completely up and honest with you guys. From a negativity standpoint, you know, everything I've done over the last 9 years, 10 years has drawn some negativity from somewhere. Even though we've raised nearly 300 grand for charity and we've done some really cool things, I'm seeing a lot of the world. But there's a couple of things I take into account and I take into consideration. Whether it's from a running work perspective, whether it's from a charity work perspective, or whether it's from a business perspective, I need to ask myself this question quite a lot. I said, does this person or these people, do they affect me and my family? No. Okay, don't need to worry about them. Do they affect the charity work I'm doing? No. Are they going to donate? Definitely not. Are they going to help out in any way with our charity events? No. From a business perspective, are they going to put money in my bank account at the end of the month? Or are they going to put money in my bank account so that in time I can buy a house and send my kids to college? No. Don't need to worry about them. They're absolutely irrelevant to me in my life and what I'm trying to do. That is a hard thing to do, and it's taken me a long time to kind of build into that. I would have been a person who worried a lot about everything, but now I'm the complete opposite, and I probably don't worry enough. But it's just something I've put in place. I said, hey, okay, so I understand that this person's frustrated, possibly with themselves, and it might not be the thing that I'm doing. So you got to look and say, does this person have an effect on me, my family, what I'm trying to do, etc., my business? If they don't, block, get out, forget about them, just keep carrying on what you're trying to do. The self-doubt thing is a big thing too. And I've never suffered with self-doubt. I suffer with self-doubt just like every other human being. I'm just a normal person like everybody here at the end of the day. One thing I have done is that I understand that we have a lot of positivity fairies and all that kind of stuff in the world at the moment, and that's just not me. I just can't do that. I understand that I'm a human and that I also suffer with self-doubt like a lot of other people, and I understand I can't completely block it out, but what I can do is when it comes in, I now know how to deal with it. Okay, so it might come in once a day, it might come in once every 10 minutes, it might come in a couple of times a day. As I crossed America, it came in numerous times per hour some days, and I just came up with some very, very simple things. When I start to have a little hissy fit and I said, hey, you can't do this, like, what are you doing? Like, your feet are bleeding, your nose is bleeding, like, why are you still going? You know, I would give myself 5 minutes and I could say whatever I wanted to myself. I could be as negative, I could be as doubtful about myself as possible, but when that 5 minutes was up, the book was closed and I was done. That was it. I would follow it up with 5 minutes or 5 points of things I was very, very positive for, or very, very grateful for on that day. Now, I broke it down as simple as this. I was like, it stopped raining. It's sunny. I get to have a coffee soon. I just had a lovely meal. I slept well last night. Very, very simple things. And you know what? When you start being a little bit more grateful for the simple things, a lot of times the self-doubt will dissipate. I'm not saying, listen, nobody doesn't suffer with self-doubt. I suffer with self-doubt just like everybody. You will face it too, inevitably, but you just got to realize when it comes in, that you can deal with it. You can chop it up and put it away and you don't need it anymore. So that's just one thing I wanted to, I suppose, touch on. It's a big part of community. It's a big part of our life. The negativity and the self-doubt, no matter how much you put yourself out there, no matter how much you try and achieve something, you'll suffer with both of these things. But it's important not to let them derail you, and it's important not to leave them hold you back, and it's important not to leave them, you know, not let you achieve your goals. I think that's really important, no matter what that kind of goal is. It doesn't have to be a running goal or a fitness goal. It could be anything. So don't leave it hold you back. Deal with it. Put it aside. At the end of the day, a lot of it won't really be applicable to you, and there's bigger fish for you to fry with the stuff you're trying to achieve. Okay. And I already touched on who you surround yourself with is absolutely key. You know, it's really important that those people support you, that they're very, very passionate about what you're trying to achieve. It's also important that those people keep you in line and keep you in check. I think that's really important. Sure, I know a lot of people, but I have a very small circle of friends, family that I would trust with anything. I've said some things to my family about things I want to do, and they're just like, that is the stupidest thing we've ever heard. I'm like, actually, do you know what it is? I've also put ideas to them and say, hey, that's a great idea, you should go for it. I'm like, okay, I'll go for it. So who you surround yourself with, guys, is very, very important, and they can have a massive effect on your kind of your inner self-confidence, your motivation, your clarity and stuff like that. And as well, you know, you want to make sure that that negativity isn't coming from that little circle. If it is, it's worth thinking about. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna have a quick video I want to show you guys before we finish. I just want to, it's about 2 minutes long, and I hope this works there now. We tested it pre, 1 second here now, new share, Google Chrome. Okay, cancel. There we go, great. Go home is why. No, so this is just a little video, guys, I got sent by a mentor of mine. I'd say 8 years ago, and it's an old video. It's by a guy called Jim Rohn, who's actually now passed away, but it's a fantastic video. And you know, it was right before my first ever ultra endurance event, where I ran from Dublin to Dingle. We raised over 34 grand for charity, and I was just a young lad at the time, and you know, very nervous about doing it and putting myself out there and stuff. And he just sent me this video, and I think it's really, really good. So I'll leave it play for, it's just 3 minutes long, and then we'll be done. Why go this far? Why try to learn this much? Why study? Why put yourself out? Why try to earn as much as you can earn, share as much as you can share? Why try to become all that you can possibly become?
Why develop yourself to the full? Why try to do it all? Why try to take on this much responsibility? Develop every skill you possibly can. See every human you possibly can. Go to every class you possibly can. Touch everybody you possibly can. Why do that much? Why go that far? Why share that much? Why give that much away? Why try to see everything? Why try to do everything? Why try to become everything? The first question to ponder when you go home is why. Here's another good answer to why. It's the second question. Why not? Why not see how much you can earn? Why not see how much you can learn? Why not see how many skills you can develop? Why not see what kind of person you can become? Why not see what kind of influence you can have? Why not see how many people you can rescue from oblivion? I want you to take that personal. Why not? Why not? You've got to stay here till you go. I mean, what else are you going to do? Why not see how much you can do, how far you can go? Now, here's number 3. Why not you? You've got the brains. You can make decisions. You can study the plan. You can change your life. You can grow immensely in the next few years. You can make your dreams come true. You can build a financial wall around your family nothing can get through. You can become healthy. You can become powerful. Why not you? My very last question on the questions to ponder is why not now? There never was a better time. And what a time now for us to take this dream and not let it die. Take this dream and give it life. Take this dream and breathe into it your own personal spirit until finally it becomes a flame that burns around the whole world.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Okay, so that was a little video, guys, I get sent by a mentor, and I'm not going to lie, I watch it quite a lot. There's some days I just have to.
It is not the movement of the clock.
I have to put it on, and
that produces the newness of life.
It's a good one. I enjoy it. It kind of keeps me grounded for sure, and gets me back into I suppose a good mind frame, and you know, why not you? I suppose just some final thoughts before we get finished up. Doing the small things right is vital day after day. That's what gets you to where you want to go. We often look at the big picture, the big goal, but it's the small steps that you take to get there is what actually count. Break it down, make a plan and stick to it, work on it every single day. Whatever you do, what you do when nobody else can see you is just as important when the whole world can see you. I love that, and it's something I think of quite a lot, you know. So what I do when nobody can see me is just as important, if not more important, than what I do when everybody can see me. So whether that be my training, whether it be nutrition, whatever it is I'm trying to do, I think as if, you know, when I'm on my own, that's the most important time to work hard. And then the last thing is to back yourself. I think unless you back yourself, everything I just said in the last hour is a complete and utter waste of time. So if you don't back yourself, I think that's the at least it's the most you deserve, and I think you owe it yourself to give whatever you're trying to do to give it a shot. So that's it for me, guys. I think I have some time for some questions and stuff as well, I think, or not. I don't know. I think I can see the chat here too. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'll just pop open the old chat box. Perfect. So if anybody, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If anybody's any feedback or anything like that, or again any questions, be sure to let me know straight away. And enjoy putting it together for you guys, and hopefully you got something out of it. A great question. I'd break it down between short term and long term on it. So like use the 3, 6, 9, 12 kind of plan that I would give I give a lot of my clients that. I'd say, hey, listen, what you want to do in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And I would get a lot of people to the bigger ones towards the end. You know, and then the smaller ones would actually complement or build you up towards that bigger goal. You know, the smaller ones are something you could be working on a daily basis. But I think some people get confused because they're trying to achieve so much. So I would actually, I'd write it down and think about, okay, hold on a sec. Like, am I building this up too much in my head, or can I just do this faster than I'm actually putting it off, or whatever, you know? So like I said, sometimes when you chase so many of them, you actually get none of them done. So it's good to get a bit of clarity on what's most important to you as well. That's what I do. Some of the times I've struggled before on it with some of the goals I was trying to achieve were actually for other people. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you know, figure out what you need to do for yourself first and then take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
More than welcome. Nice one, guys. Yeah, so look, I don't know if anybody's any more questions or anything like that. That was great. I hope you get to look back and watch the recording again. And if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. My email address is info@shanefinn.com. I have to think about that for a second. And anything at all I can help with, be sure to let me know. Roisin there as well. More than welcome, Roisin. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think it's one of the things you can probably do is just take a bit of time to sit down and write things out, because months can pass and you can be looking back and you can be like, Jesus, I still haven't gotten that thing done, you know? So sit down, write it down, make yourself a priority, and get it done.